Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Inspired Hearts Publishing author interviews for the book collaboration Get Published Industry Experts Share Our Secrets. My name is Nicolette Halliday. I'm the CEO of Inspired Hearts Publishing, and today I'm so excited to have Ruth Fae with us, a co-author of Get Published. She is the founder of Fae Blood Publications. Ruth is an author, editor, and intuitive writing coach who helps a diverse range of people tell their stories and speak their authentic truth. Welcome, Ruth.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, and I'm super excited to be visiting with you today. So Ruth and I have a lot of similarities. We're just visiting. Every time we get on, we're like catching up on some personal stuff. So some of that make it into the conversation today, because that's why I like to be honest and just really transparent.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I did check it, but want to make sure. Yep, we're good. Okay, we are good. We are streaming.
Awesome.
So today we're going to be talking about the book collaboration we're putting together. Get Published, Industry Experts Share Their Secrets. We're going to be really shining a light on Ruth and the work that she is doing in the world. And it's just see how the conversation goes. So Ruth, let me just pull up my notes here. So share a little bit about your expertise and how you found yourself into the work that you're doing now.
Whew, that's probably a big question. So what I am doing now is I work as an editor and an intuitive writing coach. The intuitive part of that is they're so blended in together, and this, I guess, is where I am at now. The intuitive part is working with people to help them tell their stories. So many times I've heard people say, I can't write, I don't know how to write, I don't have time to write. I love writing and I throw those blocks up for myself. So when I've been working with my copywriting clients in the past, and that was what I kept hearing it over and over again, and I was like, I can help with this because I have firsthand experience of this. And even as a writer, it's difficult sometimes. So basically, I created, I guess you could call it a package, but created an environment where, especially during the pandemic, which has its blessings in some ways, where rather than sitting down with someone and doing a client brief and then taking the work away and writing it and then bringing it back and having a discussion and then the client going through it and saying, oh no, change this, or I do like this, or I don't like that, and it being this kind of disjointed, traditional kind of process.
Mm-hmm.
I developed a style of working, I guess, where I'm working with people, whether it's sitting by someone at the desk or through Zoom, where we actually work through their story or their blog or their website copy or whatever it is, with them. So they are getting their story, whether it's business or life or both, because for most of us it's the same thing.
Usually intertwined. Yeah.
Exactly. They're getting that out of their heads, because when I was working predominantly as a copywriter, I realized that my role, yes, it was to write cool copy, and yes, it was to write copy that sells, and there's all of the other things, but ultimately it was getting that person's knowledge and experience and passion and drive for their business out of their head and onto their blog or onto their website copy or whatever. And that, I felt that was more my job, was getting this information from them. Yeah, and then yes, creating something, but it needs to be created in their voice too. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not me writing their copy, it's
Mhm.
me kind of, feeling them and stepping into their headspace and their whatever. But I don't know how to be. My favorite example is a mechanic. Like, I know nothing about cars. I
Yeah.
did work with a mechanic. I don't know how to do that. And he was very much in that I don't know how to write. I don't have time. I can't do it. So we worked out, which is the first time it really happened. We worked out this process where I would go to his workshop, sit down with him for an hour and talk and just record the conversation, and then take it home and write blogs from what we talked about. And that was the first thing when I went, I can do this differently. This doesn't have to be done the way I was taught when I studied, like when I was taught to do it. I had a financial planning client who she would English was her second language, and she would go for walks and talk her blogs out and record them on Otter, I think it was, and then send it to me, and it would transcribe, and then I'd create around that as well. So yeah, so that was kind of how it came about.
Mm.
And then in the last 6 months, due to some personal things that happened, as you know, Nicolette, I recently had a bit of a tumble down some stairs and broke both my feet. So there was like this kind of thing that happened in my life that has dramatically changed my business. But it's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful because I can just see how the journey of working as a journalist when my kids were little, then working as a copywriter, and then stepping into this space of coaching. And then I've always loved editing, so bringing the editing into that, and then working with people in their space to help them tell their stories, has kind of just evolved. But yeah, in the last 6 months, it's just been amazing. So
What a beautiful
yeah,
progression. And I love how you really identified, like, I can do this different. That I think
yeah,
is like those moments, those golden moments where it's like breaking the norms and,
yeah,
constructs about, no, this is what you do. It's like, but there might be a better way. And I think I might have just found it. So that's beautiful. So
mm,
it sounds like your career really progressed from journalist to copyright and now into a book coach, writing coach, and
yeah,
editor. And kind of more in the direction of publishing. What was your first debut
yes.
into publishing, and what was that experience like for you?
So just prior to the pandemic, I met a mother and son who were writing their story together,
Mhm.
which was the first book edit that I had actually ever done.
Mhm.
Um, was one of those, universe being in the right place at the right time, synchronistic kind of things. But I met them, and
Kinda
then
guiding
during,
your path, like, "Look, here, this is the direction.
yes,
Come here.
yeah,
Okay, now we gotta
yeah,
break this over here. Now keep going." I know
yeah,
that
and
happened
I
for you.
met,
We'll talk a
I
little
met,
bit more about that, but yeah.
yeah, it was just crazy. So I met
Mhm.
the mum at a networking event, and we got talking, and she's like, "Oh my god, we want to write this book. We need some help." And I was like, "Oh, I'd love to." And she told me a bit about their story. Short version, I went over, met them both, ended up staying for about 2.5 hours while they both shared their story, um, and came out just buzzing, going, "Oh my god, I want to help these people. Like, this is amazing. This story needs to be told. It can help so many people."
Mm.
Um, I'm sure they wouldn't mind me saying, but they had, a family experience, of, oh, there's a lot of stuff, but there was, alcohol, drug use,
Mhm.
prescription drug use, because Michael, the son, went through some stuff with mental health that wasn't treated well within the system. So when they talked about this book, and there was obviously the impact on his family and all the rest of it, and it would help parents, it literally can help change the way that the system works here in Australia as well when it comes to diagnosing mental health in youth.
Mhm.
Like, so the prison system, like, there's so many things came
Mm.
into it.
Wow.
Um, so during the pandemic, we met via Zoom, the three of us, and what the way they did it was Michael wrote his story, Joe wrote her story, and then I edited it and put it together, asked questions. Like, there was developmental editing, there was in the end line of copy editing and proofreading and all the rest of it. But what I really noticed through that experience is how much healing they did,
Mm.
um,
Mm. Wow.
individually and also together. And there were moments when, we'd be on the Zoom and I'd be like, "Oh, just turn my screen off, or I'll just go make a cup of tea," because they were having these.
Right back. This seems like a moment for
Yeah.
you to really work through this.
Oh,
Wow.
it was
That's
beautiful. And I
incredible.
initially was like, what is my part in this? Like, yes, I'm here as your editor, but what is my part in this? And that's when I realized that holding that space for people who are going through this journey is so important.
Mm. It's
They
inc
wanted to head down the traditional publishing line, sorry, and they've really struggled.
mm.
Um, so I was like, okay, I can self-publish for you. And I went off and did some courses, and, you know, imposter syndrome came in, and I was like, oh no, I can't do this. I don't know how to help them. And yes, I can help them. No, I can't help them. And to be perfectly frank, we're still on that journey. They've taken a bit of a break. They're working out what they want to do. But what is amazing about stepping into the publishing world in the last 6 months, when this has all sort of opened up to me, international conversations like this have opened up. Like, there's so many people out there doing it differently, that I'm literally just doing the whole, I'm learning this stuff so that I can go back to them and go, this is where you need to be, and help them publish their book, whether it's with me or with someone else.
I love it so much because I feel like a big intention for Get Published for me is to really open people's eyes up to all the possibilities in writing and publishing, and really helping people understand, because publishing has traditionally been this prickly industry. Like, it's standoffish,
Yeah,
hard,
aloof.
gatekeepers, and it feels so intimidating. And the reality is
Mm.
that the new wave of publishing, especially indie publishing and self-publishing, is a lot different than that.
It's amazing.
There are a wave of these incredible, heart-centered, very
Mhm.
deeply connected humans that are coming into this space and saying, your experience through this is equally as important as the outcome of the book.
Yeah.
Yes, the book is beautiful. It's going to open up all these doors. There's all these potential here, but the experience as you go through the writing process and the publishing and the whole thing, you have this opportunity to walk through this portal and walk out a different person than
Mhm.
the person you walked in through. And I think that is a big difference from like the traditional publishing world, right?
Yeah. And I
Yes.
obviously knew indie publishing exists. I read all the time. Like, I'm a mad reader. So, and
Mhm.
a lot of the authors I follow are involved in indie publishing or self-published, whatever. So I knew that existed. So for me, it felt like there was the traditional publishing, and then there was this world of indie publishing, but I didn't know how to get into it. I didn't know who to talk to.
Yeah.
I'm obviously in Australia, so and I've only now recently, through Get Published, met one Australian publisher.
Yeah.
Everyone else that I've met has been overseas. Um, and I didn't really know, and it was such a strange, again, synchronistic thing. I had COVID about 6 months ago for the first time. Thought I was really cool and escaped it, but no. And I was literally just sitting on the couch scrolling through my phone, feeling very sorry for myself, by myself, like, "Ah, I just feel horrible," and was just scrolling through, and there was, in one of the publishing groups, someone had asked if anyone knew of a, book editor or a writing coach, and 2 of my friends are part of that group. I wasn't part of it, but they, had tagged me in it. When I say friends, they're business colleagues who've become
Mhm.
amazing friends.
Yes.
Um and it literally was like I was, in this place of feeling just so horrible and alone and all the rest of it. And then I looked and I responded, and then I had these conversations with 2 publishers, and they explained this world to me. And I just was like, wow,
Ah,
I didn't know this was there. I didn't know there was people that I could talk to for help, or to help the people I'm working with. And
mm,
in the last 6 months of being part of the multi-author books, which again I knew of, but I didn't think I'd ever write in one, and I didn't know what you could get out of writing in one. Um,
yes.
yeah, so it
Yeah,
just kind of again opened this portal,
yeah,
and it's amazing. Like, I love it. And I
yeah,
think particularly with Get Published, being able to talk to other experts in the field as well,
yeah,
meet more people, learn. There's so much learning, but learning, like you said, in a heart-centered, supportive space,
yes.
whether it's for the editor or the cover designer or the writer or the whoever. Like,
Yes,
it's
it's
beautiful.
just really, a rising tide, and I think that is at the heart
Mm,
of a lot of people working in this industry. We really believe in collaboration over competition, and know
yeah,
that as we raise understanding and expectations, in publishing and even just online business, that raises the tide for everyone, and it reaches more people, and more people understand it and have more opportunities to share their story and write and
yeah,
publish and all of those things. So it really is this, like, just catapulting opportunity, I think. And that is what I'm so
Mm,
excited about specifically. So you've touched a little bit on kind of what makes you, the way you work, unique, right?
mhm.
And kind of how you kind of broke that initial mold on how you were trained as a journalist and even copyright, and said there has
Yeah.
to be a different way. What do you hope that someone who reads this book gets out of your chapter? What is your intention? I know we haven't started writing yet, but if you have anything that you want someone to be able to walk away
Yeah.
with knowing, is there some piece of wisdom that you hope that they receive?
There is. I think for me, there's twofold. The first is that everyone has a story to tell, and I know we seem to be talking about that a lot, and we're hearing that all the time, and it's on lots of Facebook posts and whatever. But it is so true.
Hmm.
Everyone, like you said before, everyone has a story that will not only help other people, but it helps heal them too.
Yeah.
Um, I love writing, as I said before. I am a writer. I am an author. I've got stories that I need to tell that I haven't been brave enough to tell yet, that
Yeah.
I know will help other people.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't feel that not being able to write or trusting themselves to write, or physically, I have a client who's dyslexic. She physically cannot write down what she wants to say.
Yeah.
That should not impede someone from telling their story.
Hmm.
So I think it's really important that people know that if they feel there is something they want to get off their chest, even if that book just sits on their bookshelf, then there are people here to support them and to help them through that, and to write. Like, ghostwriters exist. I've done that before as well. And I was talking to Terry the other day. There is the opportunity for some for people to be in a space where they can be supported and held and walked through the process, and they are able to tell their story for themselves and for the collective, I
Mm.
guess.
I'm so glad.
Speci-
I'm so happy to hear that's the message, because that's what I want people to receive when they hear your message too. And then know that there's people like you who are here and ready to support them, that writing
mm,
doesn't have to be scary, and that there is tools and resources available for people, and telling your story is
yeah.
super cathartic. But also, like you said,
Hmm.
I remember the first time I wrote a chapter in a multi-author book, and I thought, if I reach one person with this, then that was a
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
And of course, I reached
Absolutely.
more than one person, and have gone on to write in multiple other books. And every time, it's like I'm getting better acquainted with myself. Every time I
Yes.
write, I learn new things about me and feel more confident, and then have these things that I get to talk about with people, in my day-to-day life, but in business. And it really builds out
Hmm.
your understanding of who you are in such a unique way. I think that's one of the really mis not I don't want to say misunderstood, but like kind of undervalued pieces of the writing and publishing process. Don't
Mm,
you agree?
absolutely. And I think the other part of that as well is that going through the publishing process, people will often write and then go, well, now I need to find an editor, which is again kind of separate. And, in the traditional way, it's also, if you're handing it over to a traditional publishing company, you don't necessarily get to have a say in what the final thing is. Like, yes,
Yep,
edits go backwards and forwards, but they make the final decision.
that's right.
So by doing it, my thing's falling out. By doing it this way, working together with someone, there is that ability to, like, when I do my book coaching or chapter coaching with people, they are involved in the edits. And even when I've worked with indie publishers simply as an editor, it still goes backwards and forwards. They still do get that final say in how their chapter
The
or their
author
book
gets much
shows.
more agency over their final
Yes.
published product, right?
Yeah.
They end up saying and have such a bigger role. And I think too, that's another thing about this industry that's opening up. Literally, I think with this book, my vision is someone can pick it up and literally find the support they want and piece it together if they want to be the project manager of their
Yeah.
own publishing, and work it out through that process. And so there's going to be really something for everyone on their journey. But
Mm.
I just think the conversation is just starting about, look, there's so many different opportunities. And like you
Yeah.
said, just 6 months ago, you were really still like unaware a lot of the things, and things have unraveled for you so quickly. There's so much
Yeah.
of the population, so many people still really just have no idea that there is this realm and platform that is so available and so primed for heart-centered, purpose-driven entrepreneurs whose work is really an extension of who they are personally. I think those folks especially are well positioned to take advantage of publishing in general right now, because the world is hungry for visionaries. We're hungry for
Yeah.
thought leaders and new ideas and thinking about things differently and community and all of these things, that so many things that can come through in a book, right? So it's so exciting. If you had, if there was like, if you have a vision you have for the world that carries through the work that you do, is there something that you kind of see as this is why it matters so much?
I think it comes back to the importance of people having a voice.
Mm.
I went through some childhood trauma, and I didn't stop talking because I'm pretty good at talking, but I didn't talk about what was important and what mattered. And, that then led me through a journey of all sorts of, different things, whether it's people pleasing or whatever, but I went through that journey. And it's not until the last 3 years that I have done that sort of deep inner work on myself, where I have had to recognize those beliefs that I held from what happened as a kid, or
Mm.
the patterns that happened and the conditioning of my childhood and all the rest of it. And like we were talking about earlier, my childhood wasn't all bad by any means, but there was some trauma that happened
Yeah.
that then led me through my life. And one of the things it did was I became very, very quiet. And I spoke to people more about what I thought they wanted to hear. And I didn't speak up when I was suffering or struggling or,
Mm.
so, and it's a very personal thing to talk about, but the more you talk to people about these things, the more you realize how many other people in this world have had those experiences and are struggling with finding their voice. For me, initially, it was like the copywriting work I did as a business and working with clients. It was helping clients to find their voice, so that this mechanic sounds different to this mechanic, or this chiropractor sounds
They're
different to this
authentic,
chiropractor.
right? They're really not just
Yeah,
like high level
yeah.
talking things that they're all gonna sound like yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's speak from
Mhm.
the heart. Um, and that has then come into my work as a chapter coach and a book coach, and even editing with people and working with them to make sure that when they do speak, they can do it in their voice and their way, and not have the societal conditioning
Mm.
put onto them. And even bigger within that is, I had a lot of conversations over the last couple of years about women's voices and women speaking up, um, and the patriarchy and how that
Yep.
silenced women. And so I guess for me, it is about people finding their voice and then speaking out and doing it authentically.
Mm.
And if I can even bring a little bit of that into the world that we're in, then that will make me super happy.
Yes, that's beautiful. I think you're doing it
Yeah.
every day with the work that you're doing, right? Um, and I hope that comes through in this book, because I
Mm.
think that's also such an interesting part about the collaborators that have joined already, is we are a group of very passionate, purpose driven, more heart-centered entrepreneurs
Yeah.
in the work. And this is a safe space for people who have those stories that they've always had on their heart, that they're like, I know that this needs to be told. And
Yeah.
a book is such a very concrete way of leaving a legacy. And so that's why we
Yeah.
just have to keep having these conversations and keep rising the bar. And so what, I mean, you've kind of hinted to it, but what was your reason initially? Because I know you've contributed to a few multi-author books. You have a few solo books that you're working through.
Mhm.
What was your decision for joining this project, Get Published, and what are you most excited about?
There's so many. When I sat down and, read everything, we had that initial conversation, and then I thought through it all. Personally, for me, professionally for me, it's meeting more people in the industry because, like I said before, this space is relatively new, and I want to meet more people. I want to learn more. I want to grow my business. So there's that, like
Yeah.
on that sort of personal and professional level.
Yeah.
Um, there is also, like I said, I've worked in this field, and I didn't know where to look. I've
Mhm.
followed people on Facebook, and I still get emails from indie publishers that I've bought courses from over the years, and I've gone to women in publishing summits and things like that. I've tried to find a place, and it wasn't until the last 6 months that I feel like I've found a place where not only I can grow, my business can grow, but I can help other people from this place.
Mm.
So if other people are looking like I was looking, and they can find Get Published, and it gives them that little bit of knowledge or insight or concrete evidence of, you can go and look here, or you can talk to this person,
Abs
um, you
Yeah.
know, finding,
Taking people's
yeah,
direction like a
that is what it is for me.
it's
Yeah,
so
because
good.
I didn't have that.
Yes, and, like, it took you a lot longer to find your groove here, right? Because you had to
Yeah.
go through so much, like, "Okay, is this all right? Is this" and, I think one thing that is definitely a certain thing is people find this, community of publishers, and they usually feel like they're at home if they're
Yes.
purpose-driven, just there's a certain level of empathy and compassion and really celebrating each other, which is so unique, I think, compared to a lot of different things
There's
out
so
there.
much support. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's
Yeah.
your and we're just getting started, we're not launching till spring of 2023, but what's your favorite part so far
Of the process or the book?
about this program and this opportunity?
Um, Definitely meeting the other authors in the author calls that we've had.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed watching the interviews as well because, obviously we haven't met all that often yet, so just meeting them was nice.
Mhm.
But then actually watching their interviews and getting to know a bit more about their background and where they're coming from, and, um,
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed that part of it as well so
Me
far.
too. We had our first author
Yeah.
call 4 weeks ago, and we were just like, "Yes." We It's just one of those moments where it's just like, "Yes, this feels so in sync and so many connections and really, beautiful shares that were happening."
Yeah, tears. There were tears.
Yes, there were tears, which is,
Yeah.
like, a frequent thing for me. Anyone who knows me
Yeah.
knows that. Um, and, um, and
Yeah.
my and Bridget's intention is to shine a really bright light on the contributors and help, help as many people as possible know who you are and the work you're doing, and really just share it
Mm.
far and wide so that it makes it easy. We want to make it easy for people who are like, oh my gosh, there is someone who helps with intuitive writing. I want to know her.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
anyway, we are so excited for this book. We are still looking for the final contributors. So if being part of a heart-centered and purpose-driven publishing network, if getting your work in front of people who are really either hungry for your services or don't know they are yet, but really are gonna, find you and find the opportunity that you're providing within
Mm.
the publishing industry, make sure to reach out and visit with me. I'll share the link with some details in the comments so you can check out the details there. Ruth Fae, is there anything that you have coming up that you would like to invite people to check out?
Ooh, no, not at the moment. I am Part of this journey for me has been, like I said before, learning to speak, and also learning to step into this space as an entrepreneur and all the rest of it as well. So I am working on some new programs that will be coming up, not in the next week or so, but and actually putting them on Facebook, actually being brave enough to step out there. So
Yay. I'd like to
there
see
will
that.
be some stuff coming up, but yeah, I just got to
Well,
get the guts up.
we'll make sure to put Ruth's link to her Facebook so you can keep an eye there if you're interested or keen in working with Ruth. I know one of the things that she does that she hasn't mentioned is she helps publishers with. She will come in and help support with writing chapters. And that's been an emphasis, really helping that writing support within multi-author books. So I think it's a really smart niche and focus, and so beneficial. So if you have some folks that maybe need a little bit more additional writing support than what your container offers, Ruth would be a really great asset to bring in, and she can share a little bit with you and your contributors, and then they can work with her privately if that's something that they feel driven to do. So but that's all
Thank you
for
for
us.
mentioning that.
Yes, I want to like shine a light because I know, sometimes it's like we have so many things, so many pieces going on that it's like, oh yeah, there is that piece too. I also do that
Yes,
way.
yeah.
So, but Ruth also works with people who are writing solo books. She mentioned some copywriting, so there is a slew of things that she does. So if you're curious, make sure to reach out to her. If you'd like a connection with her, reach out to me and I'd be happy to make that connection. But that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining in. If you have any questions throughout this, make sure to ask. We'll circle back around. Thank you, Ruth, for such a lovely conversation. And I could talk to you all day. We didn't even get into like the
I
more
know.
some of the more personal things, which is
So
okay.
much.
We shared before we got on here. We're always like, hi. But I'm sure we'll have another opportunity to visit again.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Bye,
It's been
everyone.
lovely. Bye.